Welcome to FAB Conversations. I am Sonu Bhasin, and FAB is Families and Business. Today's guest has written a book titled Harsh Realities, obviously punning on his name. But in real life, Harsh Mariwala is anything but harsh. Mild mannered and soft spoken, Harsh has built from scratch and aggressively a storehouse of talent in Marico. And this is reflected not only in the business numbers of the company, but also in the respect that Marico has in the industry and in the top business schools of India. And I'm delighted that Harsh Mariwala is my guest today on Fab Conversations. And welcome, Harsh. And
Thank you, Sonu.
I look forward to the conversation with you about you, your life, and of course your book.
Thank you very much for hosting me, and I'm also equally. I look forward to the next 45 minutes to talk to you.
Thank you. So, Harsh, it said that it is our childhood that shapes us as a human being, as an adult.
Hmm.
You had a childhood that was spent in a large joint family. You were the eldest. You are the eldest grandchild of your generation. And when you were born, your grandfather distributed gold coins to family and friends. And you lived in this large house at Haji Ali in, joint family, multiple generations, but you had only one dining room and one kitchen. So
Yes.
can you talk to us about your childhood and, what were those days like and
Okay.
how did that shape you as the
Yes.
person that you are?
So just a minor correction. I was not the eldest grandchild, but eldest grandson.
And
I
yes,
have an elder sister who's elder to me,
yeah.
but I'm number two in terms of ranking. So I'm
But
the eldest
gold coins were
grandson.
not distributed when she was born. Gold
No, I
coins
mean
were
that's saying
distributed when
that
you were born.
that's really sad. That's really sad. I think the Indian society is not valuing women. And I think all that is changing. But I'm talking of many, many years back. So
Right.
at that time, that was the I mean, the way to do things. So, but I think it's. I mean, I had a fantastic upbringing in a joint family with so many uncles, aunts, cousins, and it was like a big. Like everybody
Jamboree.
was together, and do different things, and everybody had diverse interests. Common interest amongst all of us was Indian classical music. So one would listen to it every day. And that's how I started developing. I developed a huge liking for Indian classical music. And that's still my favorite music when I have to listen to music. And then everybody was interested in sports. So one of my uncles was riding, one of them was sailing. My father and one of my other uncles was playing golf. And I tried everything. But ultimately, I zeroed in on golf
Yeah.
because that's what I liked. And there was a golf course next to our building. One could see the golf course from my balcony.
Right.
So it was great. It was, I mean, we used to have a lot of fun. I mean, many times as young, naughty kids, we would just decide in advance what to attack, what kind of food and then we will just polish that food off, and then nobody else would get that. So we played a lot of pranks, and children would sit for dinner, and then the elders would sit. But all in all, a lot of positives. Also taught me a lot of values of tolerance, consensus, and also learned a lot in those days because a lot of conversations at home also centered around business. Everybody was in the same business. So a lot of business talk also must have shaped my thinking over a period of time.
Yeah.
So all in all, I treasure those times. We had a big building in those days. Haji Ali was a suburb of in Mumbai, and we had a badminton court, and we had a big garden, and we used to grow vegetables and things like that. So it was very nice.
Yeah. But
Yeah,
and your family name wasn't Mariwala to start with. I think it was
yeah.
Basanji.
It
Your
was merchant
It was
because we were
merchant. So
merchants. Yes, but then
how did your
so
family
yeah.
get the name
So my
Mariwala?
grandfather and I mean he's the one who started trading in pepper, and that's how pepper was the main business, and that's how people started recognizing him through because you trade in pepper, so it becomes Mari is pepper in Gujarati, so it began Wala as somebody who trades in pepper, so that's how the name Mariwala came in.
Yeah. So this was
But
the
it came
Mari.
in before I was born, so it was
Yeah.
already there.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So then, as keeping to your early days, you were in Sydenham College and then you wanted to
Yes.
go and do MBA overseas.
Yes.
But
Yeah.
in jest, I think you've said that your father was afraid that you'll get married to a Gori meme, and he was afraid of that. But he then told you to join the family business. Now,
Yeah, yeah,
with hindsight of
yeah,
some
yeah,
decades,
yeah.
can you explain why your father wanted you to join the family business, and also would your life have been different if you had indeed gone for your MBA overseas?
Why he didn't want me to go abroad is something which I didn't have the courage to ask him. This was my conjecture that he was not allowing me to go because I may get married. He felt maybe 2 year away from the company also, or from him also is too long. So I don't have the exact reason why he didn't want me to go. But if I had gone there and had come back, would I have been doing, or did I do? I mean, whatever I did, would I have done the same thing? I don't know, frankly, because the business was a typically family managed business, and I would have come back and would have got a little frustrated because if I had studied further, then I would have been disappointed in the way the business was being run. And here I was a fresher without any knowledge of how to run a business, and to that extent, I was far more adaptable to that situation at that time. So I personally, I don't regret. Actually, it worked to my advantage, in my opinion, because that really strengthened the resolve in me to succeed. That strengthened the resolve in me to learn each and everything. And if I had studied abroad, I would have thought that I know it all. And I think that happens with many MBAs. They study and they think they know how the business gets done, but the actual experience is something which there is no shortcut to. So
Yeah,
I went on establishing each and every function within the organization, and that was a great learning.
yeah,
And because I had not studied all these, I went on learning, interacting with thought leaders, interacting with some industry professionals. So that really prepared me for future.
yeah,
So for the first 4 or 5 years were very, it's like I mean, I did my MBA by talking to people and implementing things.
yeah,
And today I can talk to any MBAs. We have something like, I don't know, 250, 300 MBAs
yeah,
in Marico, and I can be on the same level ground in terms of the
yeah.
way they talk or the lingo, or I can speak to them, I can manage them. There's no issue at all.
Yeah, yeah. So, when we say na jo hota hai अच्छे के लिए होता है, so in your life it
Correct.
actually happened because you were
I
not, sorry, you were
No, no,
not,
no. I agree with you. You're absolutely on the right track. I fully agree with you.
and you were not afraid to roll up your sleeves, and but
No,
maybe later you can talk to me about
no.
uh, MBAs come with this attitude that we know it all, yet
Yes,
you
yes,
employ a lot of MBAs in Marico.
yes,
But we'll talk
yes.
about it once you
Okay,
set up Marico in our
okay.
chronology.
Done, done.
So yes, you joined your family business and
Yes,
you went around and you
yes,
visited the markets, and it was a B2B business. You were selling to other businesses.
yes.
Uh, you've earlier told me a story about how you hated this Shalimar guy in Calcutta who was buying in bulk from you and then selling in retail. So
Just
was
one correction. I didn't hate him. I mean, I
okay.
was envious of the fact that they are
Sure.
buying our product,
Yes.
oil,
Yeah.
and they're packing and they're getting value addition. They were also at their own factory, but I think I got a lot of my internal motivation to have my own brand because my uncle went on speaking that see, this guy is doing well, he's buying from us and he's packing it. So that's, I mean, triggered a lot of thought in me that if he's doing, why can't we do the same thing?
Yeah, so that was what I wanted to ask you. That
Yeah.
was it that triggered off this
um
when
yeah,
you sensed an opportunity
yeah,
in going B2C so
yeah.
that you could, was it making a profit that excited you most, or was it setting up a brand that excited you more?
So I would say that it was setting up a business which was far more stronger, which was far more sustainable in terms of growth opportunity, and also far more profitable. And B2B business is it's more a commodity business where the margins are limited. And this is a relatively difficult business to set up. And I think if you are able to create a good brand, then, based on the distribution network you build and the brand, you can expand and launch other products. So I was always fascinated by FMCG sector and the consumer inciting and the consumer behavior. So this is something which fitted in beautifully in terms of what I liked, what my passion was. And I didn't like the B2B businesses where one would have to go and pamper somebody's ego or something. That's not me. I want to do a deal in mass. I can create advertising. I can create mass marketing campaigns, generate demand, work with a common man distributor rather than some high flying kind of purchasing manager in a company. That's not me. I can't do. So
Yeah.
it really fitted in, and we already had those two products, refined oil and coconut oil, which was sold in bulk. So it was easy to convert that into branded products.
Yeah. And when you did start selling parachute oil in the retail market, you wanted to change the packaging because till then they were sold
Yeah.
in tin
Yeah.
and you
Yes.
wanted to bring about plastic. But
Yes.
then you also did some market survey with the trade to see how did they react.
Yes.
And the trade kind of was not very enthusiastic.
Yeah.
And there's an interesting story there that
Yes.
I have heard that
Yes.
the reason for the trade's unenthusiasm was actually rats. And
Yeah.
how did you overcome the challenge of rats?
So normally an entrepreneur does not give up easily, if you are convinced. And that I can give you multiple stories, even in terms of attracting talent, what I did. So you have to go on trying if you think that there is merit in what you're pursuing. So I was convinced that this was very good for consumers. It was attractive. It was convenient to use. It was cheaper compared to tin. So it made all the sense. And consumer also feedback was very positive. So basically, how do you overcome this problem of rat biting and leakage and all that? So that's how we went back to the drawing board, went to the packaging vendor, designed a bottle which was difficult for the rat to get a grip on, packed it in such a way that there was no,
So
yeah,
so
so yeah.
what was the problem of the rats? The rats
So the
were
problem was that prior to us, about 8 or 10 years prior to us, some other brand had launched coconut oil in plastic bottles in a square shaped bottle, and a lot of oil was oozing out on the outer surface of the bottle, and that attracted the rats in the night when the shopkeeper closed the shop. And when they opened the shop next morning, they realized that not only the product was damaged, but their shop also got spoiled, because of the oil leaking. So I think that was the real issue, and there was huge resistance from the trade that we will not stock coconut oil plastic. So
yeah.
we had to overcome that. That's how we designed a bottle, which was a round shaped bottle, ensure that there was no oil on the outer surface of the bottle. And just to test out that hypothesis, we kept that bottle in a rat cage, took pictures, everything was fine. And I think then that gave us a huge confidence in terms of giving an assurance to the trade that even if there's a problem, we will compensate you. We gave pictures of all the rat cages and bottle to our field force just to prove a point. So uh, it was proven, and we were absolutely going with full scale ahead,
Yeah.
to convert the market from tin to plastic.
Yeah. And then, your early results showing that there was acceptance of parachute oil,
Yes. Yeah.
and you wanted to build your network and sales distribution. But you have said in the past that it took you a long time
Yes.
because, as is true in any family business, people are seen more as a cost rather than an investment. And
Yes.
you've said in the past that it took you almost 10 years to get a pan India network going to your
Yes.
liking.
Yes.
Now, for the benefit of a lot of these young inheritors who come
Yes.
back all enthusiastic and join the family business and run
Yeah.
into this, the wall of wall of patriarchy or the wall of this is how it is done or this is how it's always been done. Can
Mm.
you share your experience? How did you deal with that frustration? How did you deal with it so that people today also get some lesson in how to deal with it and get on with what they want to do?
So I think family in a family managed organization where multiple family members are there are multiple roles. You are related to your family in the sense that your uncle is there or father is there. And in those days, especially, the openness was much, much lesser. If I had felt something my uncle was doing wrong, it was very difficult for me to upfront go and tell. So one would have to do it in the right kind of a manner. And so communication had to be done in a proper manner, um, which would be acceptable. And then sometimes, things may not improve overnight. You have to have a lot of patience, and over a period of time, go on pursuing things. And at some time, you get build in consensus. And I think that's the only way. You have to get acceptance. You have to find ways to get your views accepted with others rather than fighting too much. Sometimes you may want to put your foot down, but a lot depends on the family also and what is the key issue.
Yeah.
But I think the biggest difference compared to a professionally managed company is that because of lack of openness and because of high degree of respect, one would have to do it very carefully.
Yeah.
And as I said, a lot will depend on the family. You'll have to build consensus, give opinion a little bit more, shall I say, not so harshly, but do it in a little bit more acceptable manner. And then, asking them to give you some freedom, if there is a difference of opinion on a smaller scale. So what is known as prototyping, and then, move forward. So you have to have a lot of patience for doing that.
So, as I hear you, my takeaway is that for any of these youngsters, especially family business inheritors, the first thing that they need to understand is patience, and logic has to be used,
Yes.
and it's got to be taken step by step. They can't come back and say, okay, now we're going to change the way the business is run because we know better. So that is the way to go about.
Yeah, you have to get yourself accepted. If you have a different viewpoint, then, ask them to tell them that, okay, I will try it on a small base. I will show it to you, rather than saying that I want to change everything overnight.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And then in 1990, you finally were able to set up your own business called Marico. I mean, even though the ownership was
Yes.
still, part family, but
Yes.
this was a business that you ran. And one
Yes.
of the first things that you did was or one of the first talents that you brought in was the head of HR.
Yes.
I have two questions here. One, why head of HR?
Yeah.
And two, did it really change the perception of Marico in the market?
So why HR? I had developed in my formative years a very strong belief that talent will play a very, very important role, because without any capital investments, we were able to build a business, a very profitable business. And at that time, we had built a size of 80 crores from a zero base without any capital investment, and just through investing in proper talent. And whenever we invested in better quality talent, it started showing better results, whether it's distribution or marketing or whatever, or even sourcing, cost structure, and whatnot. So the belief was that if I have to compete with the likes of bigger FMCG companies, I have to have a talent which is equivalent to what they have. If not at that time, but over a period of time, make it up. And that can only happen if I have a good HR head. So HR head, irrespective of whatever I say, I will always be perceived as a family member. And the moment I show my face to the external talent, they will always say it's a family managed company, because I had inherited that kind of image based on my past working with Bombay Oil Industries. So we needed an external face which was acceptable to other professionals who had good networks. And I think our biggest job at that time, the first initial job, was to recruit something like 30 or 40 managers. And I think that helped us in terms of recruiting talent, because he was convinced of what I was doing, and he could go out and assure others that this is not a typically family managed company. It is slated for bigger things, newer things, and it's going to be an exciting company to join. So he was able to create that desirable future for the new talent to join. And I think that played a very important role, coming from an independent viewpoint with somebody who was known in the job market. So I think that was, to me, it was a very crucial, shall I say, decision to take to recruit him first.
Yeah. So today, Harsh, actually, you have people, professionals, all clamoring to join Marico because of the reputation that it has. But take me back to the same head of HR. How difficult was it? And the reason I'm asking you this is because, again, we have a lot of these SMEs today where the inheritors have come back after doing their MBA from overseas. I don't know whether they've got married to Gori Memes or not, but they've come back. And they want to also professionalize their businesses. But one of the things that I've heard from a lot of these inheritors is that they find it difficult to attract talent.
Yeah.
So if you share with us, how were you able to do it step by step? How did you get the HR head in?
Yeah. So at that time also there was a war for talent. The war for talent has just accelerated a lot. And I think for any CEO or a family member who wants to attract talent, they must realize that they have to market themselves. Hiring is like marketing. It is not like contracting and, outsourcing or just buying something. And the mindset earlier was, okay, I'm hiring talent so I can have ride a high horse and attract that. But that doesn't happen. You have to market yourself. If you have to market yourself, you have to identify what is good for you, what is good for in your company to attract good talent. So you have to identify what is the employee value proposition which will cut ice with that talent. It could be anything. It could be your culture. It could be a challenge. It could be your career progression. But I think each organization has something unique, and you have to identify what is that unique thing which you can offer to the talent. And in our case, it was basically the biggest unique thing we identified was empowerment. We said that we as an Indian organization will be far more empowering than an MNC FMCG company, which in which there are a lot of decisions take place in their headquarters outside India. And we will be working on merits. It's not going to be family managed organization. Everything will work on merits. And we will have an organization which is open, trusting. Culture will play a very important role in attracting talent. So that was our employee value proposition. Now, it could be something else for somebody else, but you need to identify what is going to click in a situation where there is a huge war for talent. You have to look at talent as seriously as you look marketing in terms of selling your products or marketing your products.
Yeah, and again, not so much as Marico back then, but with the hindsight and with your knowledge of the professionals and talent, for a young SME inheritor wanting to bring in talent, do you think money is a great motivator, or is there something else?
Well, you need to offer something to, I mean, if a person is getting 100, then you can't say you come at 90 unless you give some option. So depending at what level you're giving talent, money is not everything. I think there is a larger issue in terms of, is the business good? Is it offering challenge to people? Is the culture learning oriented? Can the person grow? Is the business growing? That plays also an equally important role. But you can't say money is not at all important. Money is there; it's important, but that's not the only thing which will help you attract talent.
I
Uh,
I
yeah,
think that would be music to a lot of these young inheritors,
yeah,
because I think then they have something else to talk about. But you've said culture a couple of times in the past
yes,
five
yeah,
minutes, and the
yeah,
culture of Marico is unique. When you moved to the Rangsharda office, I believe that you didn't want. I mean, employees didn't have to sign an attendance register. They didn't need approval from their boss to go on a business trip.
yes,
There was no sick leave, there was no casual leave. If you felt sick, you just stayed
yeah,
home for as long as it took.
yeah.
So, why did you set up this kind of a culture? Did it help? And now that you are this large organization, is it still the same?
So as the organization grows, there is a tendency the culture will dilute because it's grown in size. You'll get new people coming in. You will have new locations. So the biggest challenge is how do you maintain a culture which existed when we launched Marico, which was 30 years back. And I think that's a big challenge for HR. So we spend at least one full day with each new employee in terms of what is the basis on which the culture has been built. And we also measure the culture and the values every year amongst all our employees. So we know that if there is in some location, if the culture is diluted, there's a problem. So it is difficult, but if you work hard, it can be maintained, the culture. Now, why did I do it at that time? Because we wanted to be different. It was to give a very strong signal that we are a very open organization. We are a trusting organization. And if you give a signal that we trust you as far as your expenses are concerned or as far as your leave is concerned, then that's sending a very strong signal in the environment that the organization is unique, it's different. I think that played a very, very important role in building a very strong culture. And people felt good about it also because at that time, 30 years back, not many organizations had values described and a culture which was critical. But culture is a source of competitive advantage. My whole objective in driving culture was to drive innovation. All this is towards innovation, because innovation plays a very important role, and it had played a very important role in my initial years with Bombay Oil Industries and the plastics packaging and in Saffola positioning and many other initiatives which I had taken. So I was fully convinced that if we had to grow, we have to offer something which was unique and different. And we can't offer something which is me too compared to competition. And for that, we need to have an innovative culture which promotes risk taking, which is empowering, which has a very good talent, where there's no fear of failure. I think all that leads to innovation in an organization.
Yeah, so since we are talking of innovation, I'm just jumping a few years
Yeah,
ahead.
yeah,
There is also an innovative solution that you found for Medica, which was
yeah,
the anti-lice treatment,
Yes.
and that product had been languishing in the market, but you did something different. So, what innovation did you bring about?
So Medicare was a brand we acquired from Procter and Gamble. It was too small for them. And being a multinational company, they're only had a Medicare shampoo, anti-lice shampoo. And when we bought it, there was potential for offering the same product in an oil format. At that time, I'm again talking of 25 years back, oil was far more used than shampoos. And so we said, if you offer it in oil format, it will have at least attraction amongst the weaker sections of society in the rural areas, which it happened, and our sales just doubled up over a period of time once we launched oil. So it was just a consumer insight that the Indian consumers are far more comfortable using oils than hair oils as compared to shampoo. And at that time, now things have changed over a period of time. With shampoo usage also has increased, but I mean at that point of time, it was a very good thing to do, and that really helped the brand.
And it was an innovation in the market. So,
Yeah, I mean it's not a earth-shaking innovation, but to me, innovations, even small innovations, can play a big role. And at one level, it looks very simple. Plastics looks very simple, but it means a lot of effort. It's just not. It's working with consumer retailers, marketing the product, distributing the product, tracking how the conversion is taking place. It's a lot of effort which is involved. So execution is also equally important in innovation, just not ideation. But
yeah,
ultimately, you may have a good idea, you finalize that idea, but you have to execute it well.
yeah.
So I think I developed a very strong belief that innovation is very crucial for Marico's future, and that's how we decided to uh, concentrate on creating an innovative culture.
Yeah, I read somewhere that if something appears seamless and easy, be sure that there's been a lot of complexity at the back. Just because it appears simple doesn't mean that it is simple. There is a lot of complexity at the back which the end customer cannot see. But you talked about Procter and Gamble and acquiring Medicare from Procter and
Yeah.
Gamble. But there is this famous story about your fight with levers.
Hmm.
And what I do want to ask you is it really true that when Kaki Dadi Seth called you up one evening, intimidating you, did you really tell him that Mr. Dadi Seth, you may think that I'm a nut, but you'll find out I'm a hard nut to crack?
I don't remember exactly what I said, but I'm a very blunt person, and I say what I mean, and I don't mince words.
Yeah.
So I mean, I must have given a very direct message that okay, this is something which doesn't interest me. I may not have been disrespectful, but I would have been very frank and given my true and fair answer rather than saying that I'll think about it and be nicey and things like that.
Yeah. So,
Yeah.
for those of the viewers who haven't really read your book and don't know about this fight
Mm.
with levers, do
Mm.
you just want to talk a little about the fight with levers?
So coconut oil or parachute coconut oil is what we call our resource generating engine. That's our largest selling product. At that time in 1996, when levers entered, or 98, sorry, we almost 70% of our sales came from parachute coconut oil. So big brand, high dependence on parachute, and strong. I mean, market leader with a dominating market share. So levers, as a part of their acquisition of Tomco, inherited one brand from Tata Niyar. They acquired one small brand, and then they showed their, shall I say, intention to enter this category aggressively. And I think they also went public, talking in public forums that we will give a big fight to Parachute or we'll acquire them. So there was a lot of fear psychosis at that time amongst our own field force and there was a lot of pressure for me to sell out. But I held on my own because I am not a kind of person who is interested in money. I want to build a business. I want to build a legacy. And I mean, I can't be foolish. I was very confident that I'll be able to take them on because this is a business I've built. I know it inside out. Compared to them, where the business will get handled by some group product manager 2 or 3 levels below the chairman. So it'll not be a level playing field for them because they are much it's managed. But here I'll be devoting my attention full time to this only. And for us, this was like, as I said, resource generating engine. We have to protect that. And that's what Ramcharan told me, that you have to protect your resource generating engine. Go all out. It's okay, short term, you may suffer, but you have to come what may you have to protect. That's what we did. And it paid off. I mean, we didn't lose any market share in that battle.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So, you today employ a lot of MBAs, but you
Yes.
also said that if you had done your MBA, maybe you would have come back with a different mindset. So now that you employ a lot of MBAs, what is your training process so that, you know, Marico as a company doesn't suffer from the set mindset?
I think the first thing is we take every year about 15, 20 MBA chartered accountants, the postgraduates. So we put them into a training program, and there is a lot of through the training program, a lot of advice. There's a lot of experience given in terms of making them humble. I think it's very important because many of them think that they're God's gifts, because every company wants to attract them. So you have to make them humble, and then tell them. And my personal advice, I also have a session with all the MBAs who join, and this year also we added a month back. So I tell them, be humble, get yourself accepted, and you have to learn from others. You can't say I know it all. There's a leadership style which is not being taught in MBA courses, so you have to develop a leadership style which is acceptable. So things like that, basically prepare them, and the risk taking also, because in that phase, they are a little bit averse to taking risks, because if there is that risk taken and then if it is not successful, then it'll be a negative on their biodata.
Yeah.
And they would not want that to happen in the initial phases of their career.
Yeah.
So you have to look at all these areas in terms of leadership style, openness, learning mindset, and bring down their ego to the bottom.
That must be difficult.
It is difficult, but I think you have to go on saying that you have to work. You have to learn from the workmen. You have to learn from the distributor, the reps. You are not God's gift.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So, while people in your company get the benefit of your gyan as they, interact with you, I think the readers of your book will get the benefit of the gyan of not only you, but also that of Ramcharan. So,
Yeah.
what are some of the takeaways that you wish the readers of the book, Harsh Realities, will take away as they read the book?
So I think the book captures my business journey. And as you rightly put it, it's co-authored by Professor Ramcharan, who is a renowned management guru, who has written more than 30 books, and they have cumulatively sold 4 million copies. So it's a huge book, like Execution and many others. Basically, it's an account of my journey, my success, my failures, and it is peppered with nuggets of wisdom from Professor Ramcharan. So it is in a story format. Simple reading, not high-flown management stuff. One can read it in the night and go to sleep also. It's as simple as story. But at the end of each chapter, 1 or 2 pages is something which Ramcharan has, his insights in terms of management insights are given, and that would be the take-home value for the reader. It captures how I build a consumer product business, includes things like talent management, innovation, board management, purpose of organization, how to create a right to win. And I'm 100% sure that anybody who reads the book, whether it's a student, whether it's a professional or an entrepreneur, they will have some take-home value.
Yeah.
And the whole objective in writing book is to actually give back something in terms of whatever I've learned, whatever I've done, and if I can be relevant to them, I think that then I'll be playing my role in terms of helping others. Yeah. It's a story of great gumption. And it has a lot of failures. I've had multiple failures, but I think after every failure, I've fought back, and learned from them and did something which was based on my learning from that failure, which has succeeded. So the key thing is, don't give up easily. Have grit, which is a combination of passion and perseverance. So I earnestly aspire that my reader should read the book. They will relish it as an interesting book, and most importantly, they will also have a lot of take-home value. And I don't know whether maybe I'll show you the book.
Please show us the book.
It's a very unique book in terms of its cover.
Yeah, the cover is very stark.
It is actually, I've gone to a special innovation expert to design the book cover and not gone to the publisher. Yeah. And I paid a fancy price for that designing.
Good, but it reflects. Comes at a price, no, Harsh? That's what you just
absolutely. Said. But it reflects my personality of openness, transparency, innovation. This book reflects these three things, and whoever has has seen this cover, the see-through cover, it represents, I said, transparency, a value I emphasize, and the uniqueness of FLAP reflects innovation, something I value very highly. So I'm giving a message that this is just not a book, but it's, when you buy this kind of book, it is giving a message only. And even the name also, I think I have been getting very good feedback about the name. It's a pun, but it's everybody likes it, But I must give, at this stage, I must give a lot of credit to my wife for writing this book. She's made it very simple, easy to read, and she has brought in emotions and events and circumstantial episodes, which were lacking when I initially wrote it. Turning what would have otherwise been a very hardcore, dry and factual business chronicle into one which has a heart and a soul. So there is a lot of emotion in the book. There's a lot of anecdotes, which makes it very, very interesting. And for someone who has written a book, I am proud to say that she has done an exceptional job. She has never written a book. This is the first book she wrote. So all in all, it was the pandemic really helped, because I was at home and I could spend that kind of time with her, sitting at home. So that's an opportunity I got out of pandemic.
The way I look at a book written by somebody like you is a way to share the knowledge and not be a miser and hoard all the knowledge that you have, gained.
Absolutely.
Because there's a lot of stuff that, you have done which is not taught in business schools, which is not taught in, which articles are not written about it. So therefore, it's also an act of generosity by people who share their knowledge and are not miserly about it. So
absolutely, I am very open about sharing my knowledge. In fact, because I don't think it impacts. People think that you're giving away your secret. It doesn't impact. I am running a company which has very strong brands, and I cannot be afraid of these kind of things which I give up. If others improve, that's fine. But I have to go on improving myself in terms of my own business.
So Harsh, I'm aware of the time. So one last question.
Yes.
You did mention pandemic had been a boon, and pandemic helped you. But pandemic has been a traumatic time for most of us. It's forced us to look inwards into ourselves as well because of lockdown and isolation. What have these last 18 odd months taught you about yourself?
So about myself and overall, I see it from the pandemic from an opportunistic angle and not from a negative angle, which has, as you rightly put it, has had its huge negatives, but it has huge positives. And that's where I'm taking away the whole digital thrust, whether it's e-commerce or whether it's e-consultation or e-learning for children, or these meetings we are having on Zoom calls. These are all positives. It will make our life far more simpler, better as we grow forward. Then the overall thrust on health, healthy foods, thrust on immunity, then sustainability, the whole journey going from sustainability to environment, society, and governance. So there are huge benefits which have occurred through this. The leadership style itself, the leaders have realized that you have to be far more empathetic, you have to be far more authentic in dealing with people. And it has also given an opportunity for leaders to get into the families, because everybody is sitting at home. So, we did lots and lots of seminars, programs for children, wives, to keep them occupied, whether it's Zumba classes or health or cooking classes or art classes and internal competition. And the family also got close to the company, which was great. So all in all, I take it away that, it's a matter of time. This too will pass. Never waste a crisis, as they say. It's a crisis, a big crisis. But let's take away and do something which is going to be better for us in future. We have to be cautious. You can't just wish away and say that I will take all the liberty in terms of my mask wearing and distancing. But all I can say is this too will pass, and we will see a very rosy future. I'm quite optimistic that things will improve from now onwards.
Well, this is a fantastic way to end the conversation on a moment of hope and on optimism ahead. So Harsh, pleasure as always to talk to you. Really enjoyed my conversation.
Thank you, Samir.
But if I can, plug in maybe another conversation about the failures and the learnings that you've had. Maybe after a couple of months, because you've spoken, at least 2-3 times about the failures. So maybe after 2-3 months, when you have a little more time.
Sure. Have you read the book?
I haven't yet got it.
Oh, okay. Oh,
So
I'm going
I
to send it to you. I think it must, I don't know where.
yeah.
I'll check.
So
But
thank
please
you.
read the book and give me feedback on the book also.
I will, of course.
Yeah. Yeah.
Thank you very much.